This is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any suggestions for games you'd like me to look at here on the channel, please let me know. Hello and welcome to today's Dissecting Design. We are returning to one of my favorite games, and I would say one of the best games to come from PopCap Studios, Plants vs. Zombies. This was designed by Josh Fan, and is a very great example of designing a game for all skill levels. And we're going to be taking a look at it today and jumping back and forth between levels, survival, and more. But let's get into the game and we'll start things off and talk a little bit about what the main gameplay is. So this is the first level of Plants vs. Zombies, and for those of you by some chance who don't know what we're playing, this is a tower defense style game. And the reason I want to show this first level off is that this is a very important part of how Plants vs. Zombies achieved its mainstream and just very much huge consumer base of people loving the game. This basic level it doesn't look like much, but in terms of design and teaching the player how to play Plants vs. Zombies, this went through multiple iterations from Josh Fan, again, who was the lead designer of the game, from his talk at GDC 2012. So right now we're starting off, again, very basic design, nothing overly complex here. It's almost impossible to lose this level. We're basically just introduced to the mechanics of gathering solar energy, placing plants down, killing zombies. Again, straightforward and to the point. And this is another major part of the game, is beating every level always unlocks something new. There's always a new reward or a new tool for your toolbox to try out. And for level 1-2, we're introduced to resource management, which for fans, or economy, for fans of tower defense games. Again, we're now given a little bit wider territory, and the game is basically telling us to build 3 of them. And what's important is, with how the energy is growing, that we're basically going to build the sunflowers. We're going to get enough for 3 of them before we even have a chance to build 1 pea shooter. And this is a very big point of educating a new player about the importance of the economy. So now with this, we can watch as well. Now another thing that I'm going to do, and this is one of the things you don't do, is I'm going to build a plant very far to the edge there. This is basically a poor mistake. And what the game should do is maybe pop up a message to let me know that this was a mistake. It's probably not doing it because of the fact that I didn't do it over here. But the game features a dynamic learning system that will pop up with tooltips depending upon what the player knows or doesn't know. But again, this is still easing a new player into it. And we don't get to, I guess, like the first real level until 1-3, when we get all 5 rows. But this is a really good example, again, of this kind of passive learning. We're seeing that 1 pea shooter can handle 1 basic zombie. Not much to it than that. But this one-to-one relationship will become important for min-maxing at the advanced level. Another thing that I want to point your attention to as a way of making the game more mainstream or easier to play are these lawnmowers here. The lawnmowers basically act as a second life. If a zombie gets to it, the lawnmower will basically clear the row out. And if the zombie gets through it again, then it's game over. But this also has an added benefit of, for this last wave, if I survive with all my lawnmowers intact, I basically guarantee the win, because they will defeat the last wave regardless of what's happening. But for expert players, there is a reward that each lawnmower that survives earns you additional money. And I think that's another great way of Plants vs. Zombies being tailored to a very wide skill level. Again, someone who's new or doesn't understand it will still win, but expert players will get that added reward of mastering the game. And again, we get another resource here. And don't mind the name, I was going to run this on Twitch at some point. And we're still going with this because they are adding in a new zombie. The Conehead zombies have a little bit more defense, which makes them more durable and harder to kill. But again, you can see that the game is basically tailored to get you to build sunflowers. So with this guy coming, we kind of need to build a pea shooter. But we'll be able to build a third sunflower pretty easily. Now I want to go at least far enough to get to the first real level, and then we'll start skipping around. So you can see how having 3 sunflowers is a very stable part of the economy, but I always like to build, I usually get 5, 1 for each row, and that will most likely give me more than enough for the level. But again, we're just easing the player in, nothing complicated, nothing too challenging just yet. But you can see that they usually make it to about the 4th square. And I'm just going overboard here, so we're good. So we've unlocked the first item. And the game features these kinds of one-off consumables that do something special, but they don't last. So here's our first new zombie. And if you watch, we're going to see how long it takes to kill him. And just in case things get troublesome, I'll cherry bomb. But as you can see, a very big difference compared to the regular zombies. And the player is seeing that there is trouble. So we should be good, and again, I'm just letting it run for demonstration purposes. So again, one pea shooter was able to handle that, but you saw just how much further he was able to make. Again, we're going to be hitting the final wave. And just for fun, oh. And again, we have a cooldown or a recharge period to make sure that you just can't use these, you know, every second. But yeah, at this point, we basically won the wave. Love the little zombie with the flag here. Now, one complaint about Plants vs. Zombies is that you are forced to do these levels in order. There is no, like, expert reward to skip around or skip ahead. But that was intentional. The game wanted to make sure that every player has the same knowledge going forward. So I will blow these guys up. And we get this guy who can stop enemies from, basically delays them from getting to you. And now, at 1-4, I'm going to pause it here. We officially get to the quote-unquote real game of Plants vs. Zombies. But take note that it took 3 basic levels to basically get to the real game. But you really only get tutorial information on the very first level. And this is a great way of easing the player in and basically organically teaching the player about the rules and basic setup of playing Plants vs. Zombies. So technically, we did 3 levels of tutorials, but for someone who doesn't understand design or wasn't paying attention, it didn't feel like that. It felt like 1 level tutorial, and then starting to ease the player in and unlocking new stuff. But to show off some of the more advanced features of the game, Our next section will be looking at one of the several variants that PopCap introduces to mix things up as you get later into the game. So I wanted to show off at least a little bit of one of the first of the modifiers that PopCap threw into Plants vs. Zombies, and this is the nighttime series of levels. During nighttime, you don't gather solar energy the same way as you do before. Instead, you get it by little drips and drabs, which means that you're building less plants, but the game introduces mushrooms, and the shrooms provide other unique abilities, but they also cost far less than the other plants. And then the downside of the shrooms is that they don't have, or they fall asleep during the day unless you use a specific item. But this is one of the ways that the game basically changes and grows over time. Another part which we probably won't get to today is when they throw in the pool levels, in which you'll need to use lily pads in order to place your plants in the water, and there are specific water-based plants that you can build. But we'll show things off quickly here. Again, there's not much I can really build right now, but as we've seen, the game introduces new plants at the end of each level. So I think this should be good. Actually, I think I'll go with this. And these gravestones become a factor, as they will create zombies when they get to the final wave. So these sunflowers are a lot more powerful at this point because we will not get too many extra sources of sun energy. And typically, 2 shrooms should be able to handle 1 zombie easily. You'll see that very slowly. But you can also see the more complex side of Plants vs. Zombies and what's aimed at the higher skill level in terms of min-maxing your flower production here. Because without it, I won't be able to do too much. So I keep these flowers protected. And as we keep going, and later in this one, we'll be introduced to shrooms that can shoot through multiple enemies, things that will counter these guys, and more. So this guy is slowly coming. And hopefully we can stop him. I actually need to build a third one here as an emergency. Oh, no, we're good. And again, just going for a whole lot of sun power. But this should handle things for the most part. And now I could build a pea shooter. And the pea shooters and the plants will work regardless of the conditions. But we should be good for the rest of this level. While we're going through this, some other variances that the game introduces for the final series of levels, it takes place on the roof. And at this point, only plants that basically shoot in an arc position will work. Basically, you get catapult-style plants for the final level. And of course, they introduce new enemies and stuff along those lines. But as we've talked about, this is just a really good example of how PopCap gates the progression of the game. Always giving you something new to experience, and to keep you from getting completely bored. And while we are slowly wrapping things up here, at this point we are set. But this area becomes a lot more dangerous, and you'll see when the last wave hits. Come on. As you can see, the gravestones are producing zombies. and you can delete them using a specific plant. But at this point, we should be pretty much set. Goodbye. We don't even need to build anything else. Come on. There we go. So this would be the example of another variation. So this is a small shroom that gives a little bit of sun, 25, but it will eventually grow into a full-size one, which will produce the amount that the sunflower gives. So for like min-maxing purposes, this will allow you to essentially build 2 sunflowers for the price of 1, as long as you build them early enough for them to grow. And again, this is kind of another way of PopCap adding in those little expert pushes for players who master the game or want to have a chance of surviving some of the endgame challenges. But enough about that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the side content that PopCap added in as a way of sprucing things up. The first thing that I want to show off is the mini games that Plants vs. Zombies have. And we also get introduced to our narrator/friend, Crazy Dave. And George Fan talked about this during his talk about how they want to introduce the shovel mechanic and teach players how to use it at the same time. And what they did was integrate that into the first bonus game of Plants vs. Zombies. And this is actually very important because what they did was, in order to keep the player going, and the basic gameplay of Plants vs. Zombies can get a little bit monotonous, they break things up every 5 levels with kind of like a mini game or secondary thing to do. And in this case, we're going bowling. And this is technically a level of the game. Like, you have to beat this level, but it features obviously a very different kind of gameplay to keep the player from feeling repetitive about it. Go. And at the level 10 of each series of levels, we get kind of a last stand situation where we get plants from up here which we have to place down randomly at our leisure. Again, this is a way of building up excitement, because the player knows that when they're on level 4, that there's something special going to happen. Oh, don't want to use him just yet. Boom. And the next part will show off some of the other features that gets added into the game as time goes on. Oh. Oh, we almost got him. Get away. And once again, we're getting to the end. That looks worthy of blowing up. And besides the shovel, we'll get something else unlocked once this level is finished. Nice. I love when the plan comes together, right? And one more. Got it. And another little reward. The potato plant, or potato mine. Again, new enemies are introduced. But let's cut out here and we'll go back to the main menu and I'll show you some of the other stuff that gets unlocked through a course of a player Plants vs. Zombies. Alright, we're on my main file now, and there's a few big differences. This is the one that I've already beaten the game once, and I'm on New Game Plus. And as you can see, there are several new things down here, and we have unlocks over here. So we have survival challenges, which unlock little trophies for us, and basically are another form of achievements. We have puzzle, which requires you to solve these situations that are pretty much different from the main game. And then we got mini games, which of course add even more insanity to it, including zombies that shoot peas out, portals that move zombies around, and even more crazy things. And then besides that, we have the achievements. There's Bookworm, another character from PopCap, Bejeweled, Eep, Peep, I forget their names, Peggle, not sure what that pipe means, another one of PopCaps, and again, there's a lot of humor and charm in Plants vs. Zombies, and here we are in what looks like apparently China, which has been taken over by zombies. So let's scroll back on up. And there's a lot that gets done here. So the first thing we get is the shop. And Crazy Dave's Twiddle Dinkies here is a form of persistence that gets added to Plants vs. Zombies once you get to about the second world, or the second series of levels. Using money, you can buy things such as pool cleaners to help with defense, rakes, including more plants, and these are, or more slots for plants, and then these are advanced plants that basically will transform your basic level into an advanced form. So over here we have this, the Tree of Wisdom, and this stuff is about the Zen Garden minigame, which we'll pop on over to. Yep, that's it. So the Zen Garden is basically another way of getting money. And how it works is it's basically just like a simple idle game. You give your plants water, food, stuff like that. And when the plant is happy enough, you sell it for a huge profit, then you buy more plants. Different plants have different requirements. And while this is expensive when you first start playing the game, this will eventually pay off with big bucks, which for someone who's having trouble with the game, will be able to hopefully make use of this to unlock all the bonus features. So this guy only wakes up during nighttime. And now they're going to probably need something special. Here we go. So at this point, these guys can basically be sold, I believe. Again, spray him. He'll probably want fertilizer. Or maybe something else. So then you're all out of that, so you have to come over here and buy more. So you grow to full size. So again, we buy this. And then things go from there. Now the Tree of Wisdom is basically like a very long-term persistence element. We have to spend money to buy its specific plant food here, and as it grows it will tell us new things and possibly unlock other stuff for the game. And again, this is for people who want that element of persistence in Plants vs. Zombies, and it's another way of extending the life of it. Yeah, he's just talking. And over here we have the almanac that shows off all the plants that we've gotten. And they all have like little descriptions as well. So as I was saying, there is a plant. Where are you? Here it is. That wakes up mushrooms. And then, of course, we have the zombies. With Dr. Zomboss being the ruler of all the zombies and the boss, the final boss of the game. And just a little bit more humor to it. But I think with that, let's start to wrap things up. Oh, before I do that, let me just show you very quickly what the New Game Plus has in store. So when you get to New Game Plus, the levels, you basically go through the same game again, but Crazy Dave will now choose 3 random plants for each level. And you never know which 3 he's going to pick, but he will basically just essentially mess up your plan here. And of course I have access to all the plants I unlock throughout the game. And it's nice that the game even tells you what plants that are recommended. So again, like a lily pad, I could take it, but it's not recommended because there's no water. Excuse me. But as you can see, there is a lot of strategy that comes into play when it comes to building your plants up and choosing which ones to take into battle. But we'll head back to the main menu to wrap up my thoughts on the game. With Plants vs. Zombies, like I said, this is a great example of not only to design a casual game, but to design a game that is really built around a very wide spectrum of fans. Like we've seen, there are a lot of elements here for someone brand new who has never played a tower defense game, and then there's enough of a bite, I guess no pun intended since we're dealing with zombies, for expert players to min-max their arrangements, the survival mode, and the later challenges. And from George Fan's talk, he brought up all the little things they did to make the game easier to understand, and as his talk's title was, to make a game that even his mom could figure out who's never played a video game before. And if I can find the link to it, I will put that in the notes below. But for those of you watching, what did you think of Plants vs. Zombies, especially if you were either new to gaming, a modern gamer, or a hardcore one? And are there any other games that you can think of that really were designed around being played by, all ages and skill levels like Plants vs. Zombies? It is a shame that we never got a true sequel to Plants vs. Zombies, at least on the PC side, and that I think George Fan is no longer with the company. So who knows when the next, mass success like Plants vs. Zombies will come out. Oh, and before we go, I forgot, you can also create your own zombie avatar for whatever reasons you would like. But that will have to wait for another time. So, thanks for watching this week's Dissecting Design. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you have a game that you would like me to take apart for a future episode, make sure to let me know in the comments below. But check back daily for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. And new Dissecting Design pieces should be going up at least once a week. So until next time, have a great night and keep planting those sunflowers. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends, it always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GW for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GW for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.